This man became the first Irish act to top the Billboard 100 since Sinead O'Connor in the 1990s. In fact, he's only the 4th Irish act to do so. What is so good about this song?
It can't be said I'm an early bird. It's 10 o'clock before I say a word.
So smooth.
Baby, I can never tell. How do you sleep so well? You keep telling me to live right, to go to bed before the daylight, but then you wake up for the sunlight.
So interesting.
You know you don't gotta pretend, baby, now and then. Don't you just wanna wake up dark as a lake, smelling like a bonfire, lost in a haze. If you're drunk on life, babe, I think it's great. But while in this world, I think I'll take my whiskey and leave.
Really cool. I really want to look at this verse and how he's placing the vocals. He has this smoothness to his voice, and what is that? I think actually it's a little bit of air leaking through the vocal cords. Now this can be a contentious subject in the vocal coach world because inefficiency can sometimes lead to vocal fatigue. However, if you have good breath support and you're not pushing too much through, or it is a result of unnatural shaping of your vocal cords, like maybe you have an uneven shaped vocal cords or something like that, I don't think it causes too much problems. And the thing that is really the most important is if you're doing a lot of breathy singing, finding out, is my voice getting tired? If your voice is getting tired, if it feels scratchy, if it even just feels, to me sometimes when my voice is fatigued, it feels almost like I have cling film over the sound. It feels like it's lost its sheen. That shows that there might be a little bit of swelling, or your voice gets dramatically lower, then there might be a little bit of swelling there. So just beware and look out for these things if you're doing a lot of breathy singing, and if it works out fine for you, don't worry about it. Hozier is definitely allowing a little bit of breath through. He's allowing lots of slides and skips. Now, he said his musical education was rooted in Chicago blues, and a lot of those old blues artists don't want their sound to be too clean. They want it to have the roughness of real life in there, and that's kind of reflected in his voice too. And he's also adding some vocal fry in there. Again, to add to that raspy, gritty smoothness.
Can't be said I'm an early bird.
So I can't be said. It's really breathy. It isn't breathy the whole way through, so it's definitely a vocal choice. He doesn't have to have a breathy tone. He could be, I can't be said. He could be a little bit heavier with that, but he's choosing that and he's keeping it quite quiet. I think that's the key as well. Relying on your microphone. These days we don't need to be loud. We can create this very intimate sound, and that's as if he's speaking and whispering into your ear.
It's 10 o'clock before I say a word. Baby, I can never tell. How do you sleep so well?
So you go, baby, how do you sleep so well? It's so precise. It's so precise pitch-wise, yet he's allowing some of those rougher elements within his tone. It wouldn't be right for this to have a clean tone when the whole idea of the song is I like kind of whiskey and dark coffee, and you're very sweet and like all these nice things and healthy living, and you would need to have the voice that reflects the sentiment of the song.
Telling me to live right, to go to bed before the daylight, but then
Night owls, put your hand up. Hi,
you know you don't gotta pretend.
Black coffee drinkers, put your hands up.
Don't you just wanna wake up dark as a lake, smelling like a bonfire, lost in a haze. If you're drunk on life, babe, I think it's great.
Beautiful lyrics.
While in this world, I think I'll take my whiskey and leave.
You can hear he's getting a little bit more power and punch behind that, and that's because he's not allowing that breath through. His vocal cords are coming together more fully. He's allowing a little bit of twang into the sound, which is a narrowing just above the vocal cords, and that gives it a little bit more of a trebly sound. It punches through and then He's up to head voice. He lightens off that tone. You can find that by going hoo hoo, and that has the breath coming through as well, so that you get that contrast. He really plays with textures in this, and all the imagery is very textured to me as well. And actually, maybe that's just me. So I have the image of like sand with whiskey, and then when I see coffee, it's kind of spiky, and of course I get that brown colour, but it has that sharpness to it. There's a lot of textures in those flavours that he's talking about here.
My coffee black and my bed
Ooh. I love that, because to me he's going to that sharper sound. Again, a lot of treble in the sound, and that matches with my mental imagery of coffee.
smelling like a bonfire.
I love how he says bonfire as well.
If you're drunk on my
It's hazy.
I think it's great, but while in this world, I think I'll take my whiskey and leave. My coffee black and my bed at 3. You're too sweet for me. You're too sweet for me.
Ah, I love how he just says that.
Whiskey and leave. My coffee black and my bed
And that.
at 3. You're too sweet for me. You're too sweet for me.
Let's break down this chorus. Oh, there's so much going on. Of course, he's a great singer. He's very expressive. I'm gonna just dip into this chorus and see what I find.
Back in my bed at 3. You're too sweet for me.
He has a little fall off on the end of notes. That is something that I love in order to make something sound a little bit more funky, stylish. You could just run down the pentatonic scale and do "You're too sweet for me." It's kind of cool and funky because it's pentatonic. You're too sweet for me. It's a very subtle pause that makes you wait for that emotional resolve at the end and that musical resolve.
You're too sweet for me. I take my whiskey.
I take my whiskey. He's literally saying it. I take my.
My coffee black and my bed.
He really goes to the bl. My coffee black, and makes those consonants very pronounced.
At 3. You're too sweet for me.
Oh, he goes off on the end of that one.
Sweet for me. I aim low.
I love how he swaps that underpinning line. There's the bass line that starts and then it moves on to the guitar, I think, and it means that this whole song has a funky backbone that runs the entire way through the song. I'm going to point it out now.
I aim true in the ground
There's a
where
fry.
I go. I work late where I'm free from the phone. And the job gets done, but you worry some. I know, but who wants to live forever, babe? You treat your mouth as if it's heaven's gate.
Oh, texture.
I wish I could go along. Babe, don't get me wrong. You know you're bright as the morning, soft as the
Breathy
rain,
again.
pretty as a vine, sweet as a grape. If you can sit in a barrel, maybe I'll wait until that day. I'd rather take my whiskey and leave. My coffee.
I wanted to give you a little bit of vocal science so that you can understand what is going on. The reason that I wanted to touch on vocal science with Hozier is because in some ways he is the antithesis of this. He is feeling everything. It's not coming through intellectual, logical thought. I think for him, he's the sort of person that's like, how does that emotion feel? Let's see how my voice can express it. And neither are wrong, they're just different ways of getting to the same end goal. In our voice box, or our larynx, is here, this little lump in our necks. Inside there It's a little circle of cartilage, and in there are two little vocal cords. How I imagine it is it's like two rubber bands stretched across the circle, but they kind of meet each side of the circle as well, and there's a hole in the middle where the air comes out. If you tighten those rubber bands, then you're going to get a higher sound, and imagine if you could pluck them like a guitar string, it would get higher and higher. They're attached at the back there, and there's muscles on the whole front of the larynx, and these are called the cricothyroid muscles or the CT muscles, and when that tilts it makes the vocal cords stretch and you get a higher sound, and that's what happens when you get up into your head voice. But there are another set of muscles inside the vocal cords themselves called the thyroarytenoid muscles, and they can also tighten and relax the vocal cords. They can also make the vocal cords thicker or stiffer. It's a little bit less of a linear process as to what pitch they create. If they're thicker or they're more stiff, it can create different tones. One of the reasons that I want to tell you this is not because I want you to be thinking about all this while you're singing. For me, it gives me so much appreciation for the complexity. I cannot believe sometimes, even though I see it on a daily basis, that we're even able to communicate at all. When I think of the intricacies of the anatomy, it makes me feel so grateful for my lovely little voice and all that it does for me, even though it's so complicated. So you've got that feeling of tension because he's narrowing the sound. As he goes down, he gets lighter and lighter and more open. Me, with that amazing little melodic release at the end, which is that very subtle thing that I talked about earlier. It's all tension release throughout this entire song, which takes you on an emotional journey. You're too sweet for me. Tension. Tension, take my whiskey, release, need, resolve, release. My coffee black in my bed at 3. You're too sweet for me. You're too sweet for me. I'll sing along. Which is full release, right? Everyone. I think that the music industry has sometimes taken us away from the core of what music can be. So often in the music industry it can be around status or achievement, but I think the core of music is personal expression and community expression. So things like the walls, that is our community expression. Everyone singing along to that there, I'm sure a gig is so wonderful because everyone is there and involved, and it becomes this big community thing. There are some amazing physiological things that happen when we sing together. Our heartbeats beat in sync, our brain waves all start to match up. Hozier really, he feels like although he's part of the music industry, he's managed to stand on his own 2 feet. What a masterful banger. It's full of poetry, it's full of tension and release, and it feels really real because of that grittiness and breathiness in his voice that he chooses to use. Before you go, I have just released my very own album, Fable. It's a story of darkness into light, a whole concept album. Some of those darker songs are available here on YouTube and on Spotify. I would love if you could go and check them out. I'm super proud of them, and the whole album is available on my website, bethroars.com, and on Bandcamp. Alright, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!